Wow, you got 58 minutes left of August 11th, 2023. Happy weekend. Welcome to the Sci Fi Center. This is going to be an overnighter. My second stream of the day. My first one was at 7 p.m. If you guys get a chance to watch it, was our Star Trek Weekly stream where we wrapped up another great season of Strange New Worlds. And I agree with the producer. We need at least 20 episodes of these shows, especially if you're going to hook me on a cliffhanger and make me wait a year for the payoff. So this, as you can see from the thumbnail, whenever you guys see that thumbnail and it's got that microphone on it, that means I'm only here to answer your particular questions. I don't really have a topic of my own right now. Some of the stuff we've been driving into the ground, I'm kind of tired of talking about. But this is the point of the night where, like I said, I answer your questions and we go as long as you guys want. So, and I'm eating fries right now. So, also, I put the tip link in the chat room. So if you guys ever want to contribute to the show, there it is. I've pinned it to the top of my channel. By the way, while you're at it, like and subscribe to our, the Sci-Fi Center YouTube channel. Most of you are already subscribed to Poindexter Lounge, but if you're not, like and subscribe to that already. If you're coming in through the Sci-Fi Center's channel, hit the like and subscribe button for both my channel that you came into and the Poindexter Lounge, and share the stream. Let everybody know we're out here. Okay, let's get to it. Bam, bam, bam. Chappie. Hello, Chappie. Yes, we're going to try to make this as happy a weekend as possible. Thoughts on the Star Wars sequel trilogy? I like The Force Awakens for the most part. I didn't agree with having, as many of the old timers in there, but I was okay with it. I thought it was a good start to what could have been a great trilogy. However, I think they dropped the ball because I don't feel like they had this planned out. I thought Finn would have made a perfect Jedi. Would have been a perfect story from transition to Stormtrooper to Jedi Knight. They just really didn't do anything with the potential of that series. And like I've always said, I'm not the best person to ask because if you listen to the lounge or anything I've been on, I am tired of the Skywalkers. I grew up with the Skywalkers. I grew up with the Skywalker saga. I grew up with this part of the galaxy. I grew up with this same 40-year, 50-year patch of story timeline. So I'm ready to go far, far into the past or far, far into the future, away from, I don't ever want to see those droids again. Sorry. I've seen enough. I've grown up with them. So that's my thoughts on it. I think the Star Wars fans, given those last two movies of the trilogy, kind of are somewhat justified. Now, I am not going to say that they're justified in their tone and tenor. I mean, I'm not going to say because some of the stuff that they've done, said, and is absolutely ridiculous. But I don't think that we got top-notch storytelling in The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Whereas, and I think that a lot of those guys who did turn on the Star Wars story, like, went into it with a much more open mind than old Trek fan ever did. Old Trek fan had his his or her pitchfork out before, just for the concept of a show that they don't agree with, Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I like I said, the old Trek fan is something special. All you got to do right now is go on Twitter or somewhere and just do a search on Strange New Worlds, and you just see you can see it right there. And that's not all of us old Trek fan because I am one. But unfortunately, my generation and beyond is just, it's really hard for them to have fun, I guess. Physical media. physical media because you don't know what's going to get consolidated on streaming, and you're always going to have a better quality of product on physical media. I just like more things about the process of attaining physical media. I think that most of the times, unless you're ordering it online, which is but if you have to go to a common area or a common gathering to get physical media, you tend to broaden your horizons and meet other people. Streaming is good because, to be honest with you, you can't go straight to physical media. You sometimes have to, justify making these things first, and you have to go on some type of platform. A lot of the desirability of physical media comes from, something being in a movie or something being on, Netflix or something like that. You don't want to go straight to video because a lot of that has a connotation to it that's not always good. But if it's on streaming, if it's on Disney Plus, Hulu, if it's on, like, I would buy Predator on physical media. Or Prey. I'm sorry, Prey on physical media. But if Prey would have gone straight to, like, Blu-ray or something like that, it may not have done as well. So you need them all, but I prefer physical media. Sometimes I miss 26 episode season, but it's nice having less filler. Although filler can be fun sometimes. Yeah, I think filler. I would like to put it this way: I like having more time for character development. I like having more time. Say if we don't want to, we can place our stories. If we only have 10 episodes, we have to really pace ourselves. If you have 20, I'm gonna just meet me halfway. You don't even have to have 26, 20. I could have easily used 10 more episodes of this season of Strange New Worlds. Easily. Well, and I hate to say that because technically they're in my age group. But the next generation spoiled all of us. It changed the way our generation looked at Star Trek. Even though a lot of the old Trek fans are like, well, Roddenberry was this, Roddenberry wouldn't do that, he wouldn't approve. Blah, blah. By the time Star Trek Next Generation got going, he was well removed from the process. They had taken him away from the process. He was there, obviously. He was always going to be a producer and all that, but Berman and Braga, later Braga, they were the ones who crafted and shaped modern Star Trek. From Next Generation all the way through DS9 and Voyager, all those, that was them. They kept Star Trek going for a long time. And a lot of, like I said, and I remember being a kid in 1987, and when Star Trek was about to come out, there were people, that were saying this is blasphemy, and then they embraced it. Now we're 36 years from, from the beginning of Star Trek Next Generation. It has become the new Bible, and Star Trek was never meant to be that. Star Trek was an idea. Even with Roddenberry, it was a fluid idea. He saw what other people were able to do with it, and he was on board for most of that. So I use the term old Trek fan because, like I said, they just don't want anything. They're closed-minded to anything new or anything that they think is a drastic change to what came before. They don't, they destroyed Enterprise. Old Trek fan suffocated the life out of Enterprise because it wasn't what they perceived what Star Trek to be. Whereas I, even though I fit into that, same age demographic, I'm not an old Trek fan in that respect. Like I said, otherwise I would be preaching to the high heavens. No, don't watch Lower Decks. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me. There's Trek out there for everyone. And even when we had Robert Meyer Burnett on our show, I said straight up, listen, Trek is this big table sitting in the middle of this big mansion in a dining hall or something, and there's just a bunch of doors to get to that table. You can take the lower deck door, you can take the TOS door, you can take the Next Generation door. Doesn't matter what way you get to the table. We're all going to sit at the same table, and we're all into Star Trek. We don't have to force anyone out. That table's big enough. Those plates are big enough for any Star Trek we want. I think we should be taking advantage of this right now instead of trying to close the gate on people. So that's just me. It's the weekend. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thoughts on The Last Jedi? I did not like either movie. I thought they were sloppy storytelling. I thought they were cop-out storytellings. I thought characters that they built up in The Force Awakens were wasted over the next two movies. I thought stories that they started in The Force Awakens were just kind of left. And I'm not used to that because, like I said, I'm used to Star Wars being quality. Whether I like the story or not, you generally get a higher, level of cohesiveness than we got out of those two movies, especially after the first two movies. The first movie, I love Force Awakens. So, it is. I would have to say Kill Bill, both 1 and 2. I think the problem is that after Last Jedi, the backlash with that movie, I think Lucasfilm panicked and they tried their best to retcon the story. Yeah, I would agree. Although that was by the time that they started to panic, it was already the mistakes had already been made. They needed to enter in the trilogy knowing what they wanted to do with all three movies, and I just don't get the feeling that they did that. Ooh, got to get something to drink. I think the Godfather trilogies are some of the greatest movies ever made. Godfather 1 and 2 are in my top 10. And I love Godfather 3. It had its issues, but I still think it's one of the better movies out there. Until just finishing what you started it, like I said, operating panic. Panic never works. Like I said, the one thing Kevin Feige and Marvel did is they pretty much dismissed a lot of fan reaction when they were getting started because they knew that there was no way they could copy. You couldn't tell the fan in the entire length of the story that you were doing or you would ruin it. They had to have faith in their storytelling. So when you had movies that didn't make a lot of money at the start, didn't matter. They knew what they wanted to do. They mapped it out. They planned it out for the most part, and they stuck to it. And when certain movies didn't do as well as others, they stuck to it. You got to have a plan and you got to have faith in your plan. That's why you can make a movie like Thor Dark World that wasn't that great and still continue to Thor Ragnarok, which still sucked. But you know what? Lots of people loved it, and it rebounded for them. You have to be able to stick with your plan, and especially with Star Wars, because you have such a huge fan base. And that, like I said, I don't blame the fans as much for the Star Wars. I mean, some of them acted like fools, but those last two movies were worthy of disappointment. Jose Acquire, you can't Acquire. You're slumming it with me, eh? Cool. Welcome to my dungeon. What is your favorite science fiction movie of the last 5-10 years? Yeah, you knew it. You knew you had to exclude 2049, didn't you? I would have to say Dune. Same director, but I would have to say Dune right now. Well, these old Czech fans say Gene Roddenberry will be rolling this. You know what? Like I said, a lot of these massive changes that they bitch and moan at began under. I mean, to be honest with you, they hated Berman and Braga for a while too, but without those two, Trek's not on the air. And when they chased them off, look what happened to Trek. It wasn't on the air. I wish old Trek fan would. Do you want 2005 to 2017 again? Do you want that for Star Trek? Do you want a generation to go 12 years without Star Trek? I don't think that's a good idea. Michael, come on, why are people so overly protective of franchises that they love? Because it's the same thing with superhero franchises. These franchises, and I understand this. These franchises mean something personal to each individual. For me, going to see Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman with my dad, it means something to my childhood. Going to see the Phantom Menace or something with your girlfriend, your fiance or something. That those moments mean something to you, and people attach these feelings and sentiments to these movies. And when things are changed or things are done that might either affect those movies or put those movies in a different light, a lot of people take it personally. Same thing with remakes. A lot of people will be like, you can't remake that because the original was my favorite movie. Well, and that's what I always tell people, and I use The Crow as an example. No matter what they do with The Crow, 1994's Crow is always going to be one of my favorite movies. Nothing can change that. Nothing can change that. No matter who they put behind the red S in the cape, nothing can change that Christopher Reeve meant the world to me as a 6-year-old kid at Mann Chinese Theater. But what's happened is not only has it attached to their childhood in a way that they get defensive about it, it's become part of people's identity. They identify these franchises with themselves and their own self-worth, and I don't think that's healthy. These things are out there. It's okay for you to have that emotional attachment, a childhood attachment, or whatever point in your life that was really special when you saw that movie. There's nothing wrong with that. But where we do run astray is when we think that no one else can have a different attachment to it, that no one else can have a different interpretation of it. That's where we run aground. It becomes a personal attack when you do something new with that franchise. Even though I am ready for the next Superman, I open my arms up to Henry Cavill, to Brandon Routh, even though I didn't think Superman Returns was a very good movie. But none of these guys are going to change how I felt when I saw, Superman in the movie theater for the very first time. The next Superman is not going to change how I felt when I first saw Henry Cavill for the, Don the Cape. Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. You know what? It doesn't change my feeling about Michael Keaton. I think he's a better Batman than Michael Keaton. This is my personal opinion. But that doesn't rob me of June 1989 when I was waiting in line to see Batman. I think people have to separate these moments and not be so defensive about them. But yeah, it's crazy. And it goes for comic book franchises. It goes for Star Trek. It goes to Star Wars. Definitely Star Trek and Star Wars. And it does damage because what ends up happening is it becomes hard to grow. No matter what franchise you put, take the name off the franchise and just insert anything you want to as far as franchise title. You can't grow if your fandom like this is going to do this because it makes it so unattractive. And for a while, no producer wanted to touch Star Trek because of it, So that's, long story short, it just becomes a personal plight. And people identify themselves with these franchises, which is sad. Jose? All right, let's see. I know it's clearly not the same old regime, but boy, does it feel like sometimes special. Yeah, it does. The miscommunication, I think, is the biggest thing. I think you're referring to the Wonder Woman and all that situation. Like I said, I mean, I am not opposed to what James Gunn is doing. I understand why he feels that he has to do this, but the communication aspect has been handled horribly since day one. The plan, once again, we just talked about Star Wars. The plan, he has a plan, but he doesn't, I don't think it's the entire company. Him, Abdi DeLuca, Zazoff are executing this well enough to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because every time it pops up, it's something like this. It's not like, wow, I can't wait for this. It's, oh man, look what they've done again. And to be fair, not everything should be on them. But at some juncture, they had the opportunity and they had a certain set of decisions where, you know what, let's lay all this down. Let's take a look at these movies that we have. What can we do to make these movies special instead of spending $1.2 billion advertising what could end up being 4 successive bombs, which sucks. And that hurts your momentum. I don't care how drastically different what you're doing next is. 4 bombs doesn't help, especially with the general public. Us geeks, it will be there. But these movies aren't failing because of us hardcore guys. These movies are failing because of the general audience. And whenever they say, well, everybody who's on perpetually on the internet, you guys don't, you guys aren't the world. And that's 100% true. But the world is speaking by these box offices. The world spoke with Shazam! Fury of the Gods. The world spoke with The Flash. by not showing up. So they really need to get this together because we got a long 2 to 3 years of just is this what it's going to be? Miscommunication and just nobody coming out and saying this is this. All we're hearing from her, we're hearing it from the trades. I don't even know who to you know how I feel about the trades, but still, I don't. There's nobody in the forefront saying this is what we're doing. So, oh well. Basketball. They could because they have fulfilled their promise of the MCU. It all depends on how much everything hinges on the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. If they're going to make the X-Men and mutants and the Fantastic Four and Galactus and that the unused heroes that they didn't have access to for the first wave, then they could do it and they wouldn't hurt them at all because they have the credibility to do it. See, that's the difference between DC and Marvel. If Marvel could reboot now, but they have blown their wad. They have given you everything that they could give you. They gave you a nice 8, 9, 10-year story, and you got your fill of those characters. You may have wanted more, but you got enough. You have the credibility to reboot now, and your audience will be a little bit like, okay, you showed us a beginning, a middle, and an end. I trust you now. DC, a full reboot, actually, it's going to hurt them in the short run and the mid run. It's because they don't have the credibility to have people waiting around saying, wow, I can't wait for what's next. The online and the Twitter heads and certain YouTubers will always give, a certain benefit of the doubt, but the general audience is like, they understand, most of the people who saw MCU movies weren't hardcore fans in that respect. They were general audience people. But they were given that rhythm. They can tell you when they walked away from the table, they had eaten well. They could blow up the entire MCU, start out with the Watchers and Galactus and everything else, and start out with the Fantastic Four, bring in mutants. You reuse the Celestials. They could do that now, and it would probably work for them because they have the credibility to do it. But if you don't have the credibility, I think a reboot is more than likely going to end up being a disaster. A full reboot would. So, but yes, Marvel could. Sorry if I have these long-winded answers, guys. I just don't want to cheat anybody who's spent the time asking a question with a shit answer if I can avoid it. Hulu. Gene Roddenberry was one step away from L. Oh, come on now. L. Ron Hubbard had some, outside of his actual writing ability, there were some things there, but like I said, it wouldn't matter. It didn't affect, it didn't affect his product for the general masses. Most of the general masses don't know. They don't connect L. Ron Hubbard with like Scientology and Dianetics and all that stuff. So most of the Star Wars needs to be blamed for Lucasfilm than just bad management. Yeah, I can agree. All right, let's see. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm probably getting to the chat later, but yeah, it's the same thing with remakes. Listen, if I will give remakes a chance, sometimes a remake is really good. Even if I think, but I'm never, like I said, I could go see the Crow remake and it could be really good. And it's like I said, there's nothing that's going to replace the feeling of me sitting there in 1994 listening to that Crow soundtrack and what that soundtrack meant for a lot of musicians in that era. Nothing's going to change that. It will never be 1994 again. Just like when they do another thing, you will never. Those are your moments, and it's not going to hurt to try these other things. As far as like, I'm not watching that because you think it's not like you're the thing that you held and beloved for all these years is going to dissipate and blow up. If anything, it'll put the eyes on, the original stuff, and it'll put more eyes on it, and you'll have more comrades that watch the original with you, and now you have a bonding thing with the next guy. That's how I see it. Aaron, Gene Roddenberry was once friends with L. Ron Hubbard. The friendship stopped when L. Ron said, Roddenberry, you can make money from creating a religion. See, yeah, that I didn't know. Star Trek fans aren't so bad when you see the Snyder Cult. Nah, but here's the thing, though. First of all, I always find the Snyder Cult thing offensive, even though I know you guys are not referring to me. But and there are if you're referring to the upper brim of people who are just outright disrespectful, with those guys, fine. Star Trek fans had a lot more power than Snyder fans. Now, and when you say Snyder fans, you guys really need to differentiate between a guy like me and then these other guys. If because using the word cult is how you're doing that, that's kind of borderline. But Star Trek was a massively established franchise by the time I was even of age to watch it. They had already they were already what? I was born in '74. It was already picking up steams in syndication and reruns, and there was already plans for movies. So Star Trek was already by the time we became adults, Generation Xers became adult, we were knee deep in Next Generation. And by the time we got through that, we're talking about a guy like me who's relatively young, having 30 some odd years of Star Trek under his wings. So it's different because you have so much content. But the difference between the Trek fans and the Snyder fans is they controlled the entirety of the franchise, whereas you're only talking about with modern comic book movies. We're only talking about one interpretation of characters. Star Trek fans, if they are negative, have an impact on all things coming and going. I think the Snyder fans was a failure of Warner Brothers on the retail customer relationship. That's different than what Star Trek fans. Star Trek fans, old Trek fan, took it on their shoulders to try to shape Star Trek. No matter how successful Star Trek was, they were going to go after it. With the Snyder situation, you have a failed relationship between your seller and your buyer. That's different. I don't think they're the same. Let's see. DC films are failing with the general audience because God made it clear that none of them really matter. That's not untrue. That I can agree with you there. And to be honest with you, I thought that plan, or that lack thereof, was costly. It was costly. If you just don't release them, then don't spend all this money to promote the Flash, all that money that you're going to use to promote Blue Beetle. Not Blue Beetle, but because they didn't spend anything. But all the money that they're going to spend on Aquaman, if it ever gets released, they spent a lot of money on Shazam. If you weren't going to have a plan in place to make those movies mean something, to either wrap up this iteration of the DCU, EU, or use those movies to propel audiences into the DCU, then you just should have never released them. Because, like I said, I said this before these movies were released, they don't have to be connected to anyone. That's bullshit. Yes, they had to be connected. Listen, whether some of you guys want to believe it or not, the shared universe is never going anywhere. It is the preferred model for fans, majority of the fans, and it's the preferred model for businesses because of the volume of storytelling that it gives the fan and the worth that it gives the fans. No matter how many movies they get to see, they know that there's something's coming. They're buying into something that's bigger than a small itty bitty movie. And for the business owner, it's volume. You cannot make the kind of money just making individual movies like they want. But I said this at the beginning. They're thinking, well, people are just going to go see them because it's a good movie. Nobody gives a shit about that. So yeah. But like I've always said, a project being a good movie is about 25% of its success. The situation that the company is, the distributor in, that's another 50% right there. And your credibility makes up for the rest. So if you weren't going to do anything to make these movies worth something, collectively or going forward, then you just should have not released him at all. Should have put him down there with Batgirl. It seems to be. It seems to be. I can't argue with that either. It's just hard for me to wrap my head. I've said this over and over again because we're like 3 years away. I'm thinking January or March of 2026 is when Superman Legacy is going to come out. And they may push it to the summer to make it a summer blockbuster. But I don't believe in 2025 yet until I start seeing, stuff happen. And right now we're in a strike that makes that 2025 release date. I could be wrong. I wouldn't bet money on it. But I think we're talking about 2.5 to 3 years. Yes, I will be watching this, and like I said, I think I have high hopes for this. Rhea, how you doing? Pulling double. Wow. Yes, I am. I just had a little bit more energy today. The first half of my day has been sucking for the last couple of days. Dealing with some business situations that have to be worked out so that I can fulfill the full potential of the Sci-Fi Center. And in order for me to do that, I have to negotiate a certain situation for myself so that I can move some things around and meet my goals. So right now I'm in the middle of a lease agreement that I hope goes well. I've been in the place I've been in for a very long time. Don't want to move, don't want to go, but at the same time, my business model from 2024 going forward requires different things, and it requires resources to be aimed at different things. And, overhead right now has to be adjusted. So, yeah, I've been going back and forth all day, last couple of days dealing with that. So, but at the end of the day, once I'm done with that, it just seems like I have a whole bunch of energy left. And it's a different type of energy. I think that's what they're going to do. I don't have any inside information, but I think that's what they're going to do. I don't know about the set piece in the 60s. I think part of it might take place in the 60s. I don't know. But I would be okay. You know what? Like I said, I just realized I was talking to a buddy today. I haven't seen a really good, in my opinion, the last really good MCU movie that I enjoyed in the theaters was No Way Home. That's been quite a while. Hello. Yeah, and in a different, I didn't have too much of a problem with the Cyclops that Fox had. I didn't think he was the Cyclops that I envisioned. The way they characterized him, well, I didn't hate him. So, well, it's going to hit the fan when they recast Wolverine, though. If they get, depending on how they tell the story, though, because theoretically, they could do a comic book style, and we don't see Wolverine until about what 11, 12 years into the comic book run, because X-Men started in 1963. Wolverine didn't become an X-Men until 1975. So you could tell stories, from the original X-Men, but, I think they'll do it their own way. I'm looking forward to it because right now it's kind of stale. Marvel Studios pretty much gone downhill after Endgame, besides Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, No Way Home. Wakanda, I had a lot of issues with Wakanda Forever. I enjoyed most of the TV shows except for WandaVision and Hawkeye. Those two were the only ones. I liked Falcon Winter Soldier. I really liked Secret Invasion till that last episode. My goodness, But Loki, I'm looking forward to Loki coming up. I've really enjoyed Loki. The only problem I have with Marvel is it's 6 episodes, and it's like Star Trek. By the time I get going story-wise and get into it, it's over. It's like, ugh. Yeah, smash the like button. Woohoo, all of them. Woohoo. I think a full reboot is a confident and strong decision. No, it's not. But it's whatever they do. Clean WB will never get rid of the ghost of Snyder if they keep flirting with his universe. Well, that's the mentality. That's the problem. They will never get rid of the ghost of Snyder because they left shit hanging. That's their fault. They created that ghost. They created that, and that's why reboot's not going to help. If you can't recognize that that is your major problem, that is your crisis in faith and trust when it comes to the retailer customer relationship, if you can't figure that out and this is the way you're going to handle it, you're almost doomed to the same failure that necessitated you being here. If you can't look at this entire thing, the reason why you're here in your job, and realize what needed to be done, what needed to be resolved, then you're basically taking those same shortcomings into whatever you're going to do. They created that ghost. That ghost is their fault. You can hold an exorcism, tie up the loose ends, but like I said, just trying to put on a blindfold and walk through the room thinking that that's not how you get rid of the furniture you don't want. You resolve the issue. You can't be blind to the fact that this stuff was there. And that's the hilarity of it all. Is that we're just trying to jump onto this brand new thing off the disjointed rubble of the unfinished thing that we did before. And then expecting people to be like, I'll just give you money. Sure. At some point, I just stopped pulling out my wallet because you have just left so many things hanging. And once again, nobody seems to be capable of identifying fans want these shared universes. They want them. The money it's been proven. It has been proven that is what fans want, and that's what works. So you're now starting another shared universe when the common man is looking around at the unfinished, sloppy, endings that you've had to everything else. And you want them to give him your money again? I don't know. They created the ghost, and the full reboot's not going to. You don't fix bad habits by just constantly starting over. If you're a dummy in a math class and if you're continuing to use the wrong equation, I don't care how many times you rip that paper up and start with a brand new paper. If you're still a dummy that is still saying 2 + 2 is 8, and you just keep trying to, whatever math you try to do on there, you just try to, you know what? This is all messed up. I'm going to rip up. I'm going to start over again until you fix the problem. Until you figure out 2 + 2 is 4. You can start over as many times as you want to. You're going to probably end up in the same place. They needed to take a look. They needed to do an autopsy, a full one, and not take these bad habits into their new DCU. And now look, here we are. We're talking. We have the same tone of conversation that it seems like we had with Emmerich and Armada. Go figure. One of the guys on the vodka stream was talking about enjoying the Nolan trilogy for having a beginning, middle, and even though that was favorite iterations, I told you, yeah, people respect that. People, and they don't have to be cultists. They don't have to be hardcore geeks. The general audience knows when they have been left hanging. The general audience does not need to be a geek to know that something that began was not finished. It's that simple. These general audiences aren't Cro-Mag. They're not stupid. They know when something doesn't have an end because that's been the proven pattern for so many years. That example has already been set. The general audience wants a beginning, they want a middle, and they want an end. And they've seen enough of those to know that your product didn't give it to them. And when the word gets out that not only could you not give them an end, the stuff that's currently that you're trying to feed them now in the current is going to lead to nowhere. That's a massive turnoff. So yeah, beginning, middle, end. That's what Marvel gave you. Now you can have an argument on the varying degrees of quality that you got, but you got something. No one left the Marvel table wondering, wow, I'm still hungry. Nobody did. The first 5 episodes of She-Hulk were terrible, and that makes Howard the Duck look like a masterpiece. Nice try. I remember being slammed for saying The Force Awakens sucked. Now all the doubters join. I still don't get a lot of people saying The Force Awakens sucks. I get a lot of people saying the last 2 sucked. All right, cool. Thanks for the clarification, because not everybody does that, and it ends up just kind of invalidating conversation. I think there should be counter protests on the writers' actors strike, only demand better writing. Once again, that's subjective. What if I enjoy the writing that you say sucks? They still need to be paid. I think Star Wars is such a mess. It has nobody that wants to. The head job at Lucasfilm. Yeah, plus Disney is going through a whole thing right now. So, or sooner or later, someone will come around to the teachings of the walrus. Oh, yeah. Die. No, not that walrus. And why don't the DC films not matter? Because it's a reboot? Well, that too, because that was just dumb to announce those type of changes while you still have 4 movies going on. And B, if you're, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, the common fan wants that volume. They want that continuity. You got, like I said, people can say, well, the whole one movie's enough type of deal. You didn't go, the worst knowledge I heard, I think, was on Campia's show when he said, you didn't go into The Godfather looking for a sequel. No, because that wasn't sold to me as a sequel. This was. These movies were sold as a connected universe. At the same time, you're invalidating those movies. You're trying to sell me another connected universe in 3 years. It's just a tough sell. You know what? I wish them well. I wonder if it's dawning on Gunn, Safran, and Zaslav that a monumental blunder was. Yeah. I get when they saw those returns, maybe. I mean, these are some smart guys that we're talking about here. All right. What other movies are you looking forward to, William? What genre do you think needs to be tapped into that isn't? I want more cyberpunk. I want more cyberpunk too. Cyberpunk movies are like really expensive, so I don't know if I'm going to get them unless Amazon's footing the bill. Good horror. I still think good horror is not tapped. I mean, good horror is cheap to make. So yeah, I think there's been a lot of horror, but I don't know if it's been all good. But yeah, just general science fiction. I mean, a lot of the good science fiction is going to streamers because they're doing them in series. So that's an adjustment. But yeah, horror. Cyberpunk. I could go for some cyberpunk. Let's see. House of the Dragon is currently filming like right now. A lot of it you can't hear because a lot of these people are tied to things in America that they can't talk about. But there are people who are like Matt Smith is in the writers is in the Actors Guild, and I think Olivia Cole, or not Olivia Colman, but the other girl that plays Allison, she's in the Actors Guild. But I don't know if it qualifies as a American project to the point where it stopped filming. But I know they are filming. All right. I got you, William. We're great at navigating anything on your feed. It's gonna go all your favorites. Speaking of into existence now, yeah. Like I said, without going into too many details, there's certain adjustments. Like the 2 priorities I have for the Sci-Fi Center right now, merchandise and outreach. Diversifying my merchandise to meet the demands of 2024, 2025, 2026, and the changing culture where that goes, as well as our online sales and all that, and outreach. We do a good job with outreach right now, but there's a lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I want to utilize. And being that 75% of my walkthrough hard revenue traffic is tourist, I want to be able to do things that more effectively get that tourist on the hook for me while they are planning a vacation. Instead of, right now we get a bulk of our guys that are gals that will come in and then they'll make their game plan. And we get some of them that are making their game plan to come to us before they go because they're doing the searches. I want to optimize things on a high end to make it to where we are a priority. And there's certain things I can do to get that. I mean, we've been using Google. That works for us, but there's higher tiers of all those things that I've seen with other franchises out here in Vegas that are much more effective of getting that guy from Kansas off of his sofa, getting him to dedicate that revenue and that plan to you on his sofa right now before he even gets on the plane and lands. So I want to do a better job of that. And like I said, they walk hand in hand, outreach and merchandise for right now. And I just don't think the current numbers that I'm putting into other things make it so that I could do that effectively. So when you have negotiations, you only get finite windows that come around every couple of years or so to negotiate things like this. So it's been like disarming a bomb. You got to be real careful. But like I said, I think I'll get to where I need. One way or another, I'm going to get to where I need. Favorite movie score, soundtrack, Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049, Hans Zimmer's that sound score was good. I really, really like if you want to get more recent, Oppenheimer's sound score. The one I put the link into the chat the other night. Yeah, like I said, we're navigating it through, going back and forth. We'll meet somewhere in the middle. Yeah, like I said, I Twitter was actually the first social media app I signed on to. I think back in 2008, 2009. It's just that other apps for the time just fit what I was doing, and and I had to adjust my mindset. So if I was going to jump into Twitter, I primarily use Twitter just generally for that outreach, generally to make that connection with the people that are on it, and I use a lot of apps that combine them all. Twitter's a little bit different. I like you if you follow me, I like to do a lot of visual aids. I like to do a lot of pictures, and I don't like to be limited to 4 pictures. So I'm working, through that with Twitter. A lot of people on Twitter, but we use Twitter because, like I said, I have to go to wherever there is potentially eyes on our product, or or in those realms. I got to go wherever you're at. And as much of a mess Twitter is right now, it is legitimately one of those places. We use Facebook. Instagram so far right now is my most effective tool. But I want to combine all those and use, and make it to the point where, like I said, you type in certain everythings, and it's just going to basically, I jump out of your screen and on your couch. That's where I want to get to people. And then locally, I want to increase our 25% because of where we're located. Most of the locals are going to go to the store closest to their house. That's generally what any retail is. You go to the grocery store close to your house, but we do want to cut into, that local dollar too. So we're working on it. To me, the last episode of Secret Invasion took me from thinking it was kind of a boring show to outright thinking it was just bad. And they did it. What we did with Guy, that was just, I was enjoying the show up until then, until that fight, that ridiculous fight at the end. That was just horrible. Question, William, what do you think about the Marvel director calling the movie different from Marvel and more wacky? Sorry for paraphrasing, but no, I read it. It all depends on what she means by different, or he mean by, I don't know. I was not a big fan of Captain Marvel. I thought Miss Marvel was good. I mean, it wasn't great. From what I've seen on the trailers, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm going to see it in the theater, but it's going to be a while before I just jump right into an MCU movie because, like I said, I've been let down recently. So, and my time is valuable. It all depends on what she means by different and what she's meaning by different from. Is it going to be a lot of jokes? Is it going to be a lot of zany stuff? I saw the fight scene between all three of them. That I could kind of see where that can get all crazy, but that's a really vague statement. So I hope she doesn't go too far off the rails, off the formula. BVS, Man of Steel, and Mad Max Fury Road are some of the reasons I bought the movie. Physical media. What's going on, Larry? How you doing? Ghost of Snyder will never leave DCU until they come up with a better product in this time. Well, that too. You're gonna have to. In order to get somebody to turn their heads from what was, you got to give them a better what is. And right now, we just don't have anything. We just have conjecture, and we're just sitting around bouncing all this hate off of each other's foreheads, and it's not a good thing. That's why I wish there had been a resolution and a transition, so that void in between now and what's coming is not filled with the cauldron of the usual nonsense. They had the full Saffron, Gunn, and Zazoff, and the other two. They had full control over that part. There were certain aspects that they inherited. I understand. And I know there's a certain goal and a certain place they want to be at with DC, but you could not ignore the elephant in the room and just think that you could jump into this new thing without what we're going through right now. What we're going through right now is a direct consequence of not having a better plan going forward. But here we go. A little more wacky. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. What do we? Yeah. What do we mean? James Gunn should give George Miller to Justice League when it happens. That's if ever George Miller wants to do it after what happened to him last time. Vince, I didn't watch, but I feel like Amelia's part felt like a waste of her talent. It was towards the end. Throughout the show, I didn't think it was. But that last episode, man, it's really hard to see beyond that last episode because it was so bad. And you can't, and it's hard to even give that episode the time of day because of that one fight scene was just so bad. You know, it was just, I don't know. They did not stick the landing. Chappie, Lizzie season 1 was great, but I've been so burnt out from MCU to the point where I don't even care about what comes out, especially after Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. When it comes to streaming, I'm not getting in the car. I'm not driving down. I'm not waiting in the line. I'm not paying a bunch of money. I'm just staying up at midnight maybe to watch it, and for a service I'm already paying for anyway. Let's see. Everybody's saying hi. It sure is, baby. Yep, smash the likes button, like and subscribe to all the channels. Well, yeah, can MCU connect X-Men and Fantastic Four? Oh, yeah, definitely. They've structured their story and they've introduced characters that can do just about, anything like that. And if you read the comics, a lot of the characters that you see that are currently in the MCU are capable of making this reality. I mean, you already have the Celestials out there that are powerful enough. You can bring in Galactus. You can bring in the Watchers. You can bring in, there's a lot of ways you could do it. Like I said, if they wanted to do a full reboot, they could. And they would have the credibility to make it work, not unlike DC. Or you could retcon this universe because, like I said, you're dealing with a group of guys, and Chris Evans and Robert Downey are in their, they're in their early 40s, mid 40s. Downey Jr. is pushing 60, so you're going to have to start over at some point because you've gotten all the mileage from these guys. So at some point you will have to focus on new Iron Man, new Captain America. But while they're doing that, they could be focusing entirely on Fantastic Four, or focusing on the X-Men. And then when it's time to reintroduce, new iterations of these other characters that we love so much, you'll have enough time and runway to do so, and story to do so. So it's going to be interesting. That's what I've been looking forward to. And when I saw their movie list, and it's like, so they got stuff come out in 2026, and I'm like, I don't get you guys doing the backflips and getting excited about things that aren't coming out like this year. Like the whole James Gunn thing. I'm like, it doesn't really matter how I feel about it. It's so far away. It's really hard to generate that kind of excitement and make it be real. Especially when you don't have anything in between, Yes, we do. Yes, it helps. Chappie. Not me. And unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the Blue Beetle or any of the people who are. I'm just spent when it comes to DC. I'm super spent when it comes to DC films. At every angle I look at a DC film, I realize the exhaustion of hanging on to this, hoping that it would mean something. It's just not. That's energy I can spend somewhere else. and especially for a movie that I could see on HBO Max in 45 days. I wish it well. You guys that are going to go see it, enjoy it. I think that the Hispanic demographic is going to help it because it's going to pull from people who are not even superhero fans. There are going to be people who go see Blue Beetle who are not superhero fans but see who's in it and they identify with them. That's going to be a big boost. I think if Blue Beetle makes Shazam the first Shazam money, I think Blue Beetle's going to be just fine. Now, people will still call it a failure because it didn't make that big money. But in the environment that it's getting released in, at $125 million, if it breaks $300 million and flirts with $400 million, that's a win. That's a mathematical win for them. Hit the like button and William will dash. You'll play the sister cams. You know, if you were here, I'd do it anyway. Got to stop doing unboxings. I've been buying figures like crazy. I spent like $15,000. Holy shit, dude. I am going to start doing that, and that's when I say outreach, there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm engineering and gearing the channel for, and you're going to see on especially the Sci-Fi Center channel, more merchandise-centric streams and videos. Unboxings is going to be one of those. Unboxing is something is going to be one of those things as part of my outreach. Yeah, see, there you go, Larry. And there are people who are hyped out. I'm just not one of them. I'm just not there yet. But like I said, it's coming. I think it's an outlier. I don't think it will necessarily share the same fate as the other movies. But from a lot of value, for a lot of people who've been spot on with these box office projections, they're saying it's going to flop. And the fact that it doubles its projections of 17 million to 30-something million doesn't help it. That it's probably not going to have AIDS. Everywhere I've heard professionally that Blue Beetle is going to flop. But it has everything it needs to break that trend. It has a demographic identifiability. That's good. It has George Lopez, and it looks like a pretty solid movie. But and if you're just going for that, that's fine. I am a universe guy. I buy into the universes. Well, I don't do I will go see your solo movie as long as there's a universe going when I get back to my connected universe. I don't mind you making Batman. Don't mind you making Joker. But I don't want them in lieu of my shared universe. If you were just giving me solo films, you're probably going to lose me. That era for me is done. This isn't 1988, 1989 anymore. We're done with that. If you give me a superhero movie, I'm that guy. I want a franchise. I'm buying into a long, arcing story. I'm not just buying your one movie. And it's your job to sell it to me. And as a retailer, as a seller, you want the same thing I do. You want that income. You want that shared income. You want to propel me from the movie I'm sitting at into the next one for 4 months down the line and possibly 3 times a year if you can. Because now you've just tripled what a standalone movie could do for you if you do it right. All right. There's other issues too. I don't know if they should have rebuilt anything before they had a resolution plan to brighten us all together. And they should have not listened to YouTubers and knuckleheads that said, just blow everything up and start from scratch. We are existing in the consequences of that. All right, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is what blowing things up from scratch got you. The Flash is what blowing things up from scratch got you. And if Blue Beetle follows that same trend, knock on wood, bet that it doesn't, that's what blowing things up from and letting everybody know that that's what you were going to do. Not having a transition plan is what got us to them losing a lot of money needlessly. William, have you ever seen a film You Were Never Really Here starring Joaquin Phoenix? It's pretty badass. You mean, are you talking about I Was Never Here and the one with Heath Ledger in it as well? Or are you talking about a different movie? Let me know, Larry. Yeah, or had something to say. I mean, yeah, River died young, 23 years old. Heroin overdose outside the Viper Club. I'll never forget that. 1993. That's why Gunn was lying, trying to say Bleedle is universe. I mean, okay, if that meant something to him, then just come out with a better cohesive plan to make that box office. There's ways that they could have made this box office a lot better than it's going to be for all these movies collectively. But no. William presents the Sci-Fi Center Sister Kim's collaborate. Oh, we always collaborate. It's usually me collaborating, giving them money, but you know, I advertise the shit out of that place. I like to think you were never really here with the spiritual secret to the Joker. I'm going to see Blue Beetle. It deserves a chance. Yeah, I'm going to give it its chance with my remote on my TV. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to contribute to the success because, you know, its watchability is part of the success. I'm going to be one of those guys who helps it. So when they put it on TNT, you know, they're like, this is one of the watch movies on streaming and in the box office. I'm watching it. The only way you can't not support Blue Beetle is by not watching it at all. I'm going to go see it. I'm just not really thrilled right now seeing any DC movie in the theater. You know, I'm returning the output that they're giving me. The vibe that they're giving me is that they're going through the motions right now, and I just don't feel like spending money to go do that or spending time to go do that. So I just don't feel the buzz. But you guys, you have fun. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Allison, Olivia Cook. Olivia Colman is Sonia from Secret Invasion. Dude, in my head canon, it's the same character. So am I. I'm a big fan of Lady Gaga. I think she's a tremendous talent. I think she's getting better as an actress. And I think, better as a songstress. And I think she's only done the one movie starred for, but she got nominated for it. I think that she is going to do great in this. And I like Joaquin Phoenix. And I like the first Joker. And I sat while I was sitting in halfway through the first Joker, I was telling myself, I need more of this. I want more of this. There's still a story to tell. Why everybody was like, they should not make a sequel. It's going to ruin it. But knock that shit off, all right? If there is still story to tell, then continue to tell the story. If there is still story to tell, continue to tell the story. There is no reason, if you got a good story to continue with, that you should just not make a sequel because somebody might, get butthurt that it takes the first one out of their mindset. I'm like, that's on you. If there's still story to tell, continue to tell a story. Now, when you run out of story, stop. But if you still got story, tell it. Besides The Little Mermaid, which is that many different I didn't see that. Every stuff outside, yeah. But Disney's been having a hard time too. The type of little not what I'm going for, but I understand what you're saying. It's just not the sales trend that I'm going for as far as, the environment of I'm selling an entire environment that keeps you in a certain situation long enough to really get you. So offer up as if I need just like quick revenue, and that's cool, but not a lot of my merchandise. I don't know. I like I said, I have a different frame of thought when it comes to that. Yeah, I recall you looking to become a destination for noteworthy merchants and not just coming. Yeah. A lot of stuff that you can't get anywhere, or it's not as plentiful where they're coming from. A lot of stuff that's handmade by artists here in town. There's a lot of things that I want to get in there. That then when we do our outreach, they see that, because when they do our outreach, when when they're in Kentucky or wherever, or Florida, wherever, and they're Googling us and they're looking at everything, they're also looking at other stores and other places. And a lot of us carry common stuff, but that handmade stuff, the coffin dolls that I'm making, the magnets and things like that, that's the thing that's uncommon from other stores. Now, that's what I use to bring them in. To and we'll get them in. Once we get them in, we're selling the same comic books. We're selling all the same stuff that all the other stores have. But it's that hook that gets them in, that different thing. When you're paring down your trips, we want to create an entire program that basically is like breadcrumbs that leads you right to my register, and that's what I mean by outreach and merchandise. Talk to Young Ripper about Curry. I saw now before. Is that the guy I've been hearing about on the Ripperverse thing? Final Destination is better. It's hard to watch, but yeah. Oh, Mo, I gotta watch Oppenheimer tomorrow. My daughter wants to see it. I'm not. Have you? Is this gonna be your first time, Fourth? It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Not my favorite Coppola movie. It bores me. It bores me. I know it's an intense movie for a lot of other people, but not my favorite Coppola movie. Using keywords organically, syntax along with the images has helped me. Hashtags are a turnoff visually, and do no more than 2 is advised. Yeah, they tell you to do 3, and then the whole SEO thing. Like I could do SEOs on my own, but there's a different stratosphere I want to reach with that stuff, with the search engines, the optimization. So I want to hire a person because I can do these things to a certain degree. I can't do them to the degree I need them done while I'm doing everything else. So that's where a lot of capital needs to go into as well. Yeah, tell me what you think about it, Fourth. I mean, I'm interested. I actually think it's tied for being Nolan's best film for me. Dunkirk is still up there though. Cool. I'm also taking the dive into manga and anime, and I am not a subject matter expert on either, and I'm bringing someone for that. So because it's starting to grow now in our area. Yeah, I mean, especially when you use it in the context of you're like laughing before you say something. I'm like, okay, right now you're just telling me you're not taking it seriously because you're laughing out loud. Ah. I'm one of the phases of card games. I'm going to start with Magic because I know Magic, and we're going to go from there. We're going to see how we're going to test these things and see how they go, and see what kind of infrastructure I can provide. Not just the merchandise, but it just can't be there. It needs to be driven. And one of the cool things about Magic back in the day when I first opened up, it was you as the owner of the store could drive those sales because if you knew the game and you were a player in the game, it really helped. I would host tournaments. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, and I also got and I'm sitting down with advisors and just looking at optimizing my own reverse search engines to see what certain regions when they type in my area, my zip code, and all that. When they type in our keywords, what are they looking for? To increase my chances of getting Joe off the couch. And as soon as he stepped up, because a lot of times they'll get here, they get into the hotel, and then they pull up their phone, and that's how they find us. I want them to find us while they're planning the trip. I want them. My goal is the customer that's coming on that plane, train, or automobile. I want to factor into their budget before they get here. I don't want to necessarily always be we got some money left over from gambling or from going to the club and all that. Let's stop by this place. Got a couple extra bucks. No. My goal is to, when they're sitting on that couch and they're looking at what we got, they're factoring us into that budget, and that's going to get us a higher ticket value. But you got to engineer the store that way to do it. And now I'm learning a lot and having to do a lot. but I need to be able to make that investment, and I'm having to, like I said, move some things around financially to make my priorities. And I'm, like I said, overhead is part of that. How you doing, Tim? Romo. Oh, hey, what's up, man? Twitter is Rainbow. Hey, I remember you. Now I know who you are. Your picture helps. Twitter is the best for updates and announcements, and a good way to draw new fans via viral retweets. I'll retweet your S, and what will get G Mini for a fine. Yeah, okay. And like I said, I was hesitant with Twitter, but like I said, I am redoing all my outreach to make it more effective. And Twitter is a reality. It's a part of the game. Thank you for retweeting anything I do. By the way, any of you guys that do that. Trying to ease back into the theaters. Last movie I watched for me was Army of the Dead. It's a good movie. Before that, yeah, because before the pandemic, it was Birds of Prey. That was the last movie I did before the pandemic. Yeah. Or somebody finish it. And see, when you finish something that you started, you tell the next guy, your next potential customer, that you have the potential to do that they can now trust you with their dollar. Nobody wants to invest in these things and just to be left hanging. Nobody wants to get revved up and get involved and get emotionally invested and be like, oh, well, you just left me hanging. So if you demonstrate that you can finish something, that's the first thing that DC really needed to do before they did anything else. They needed to finish something. They got all these things just hanging out there that are undone and not complete. It really is a drag on your credibility. Finish what you started. Show the general audience and the geeks that you are capable and you see the importance of the storyline structure having a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's very important. So that's not a small statement you just put, Antonio. Yeah, limited release. I hope Rebel Moon gets here in Vegas. That's putting it kindly, Jeebus. That big old parking lot leads lots of weekly food truck roundup. We have 2 consistent spots for working on that too. That costs money to generate the type of events. Now we can get a return on that, and I can cover ad revenue. I can cover my ass on these events, but the initial upfront money and the coordination, because I think we should be doing drive-ins in that parking lot on a weekly basis, especially during the fall months, from mid-September all the way up throughout the winter, to be honest with you, up until it gets super hot again. We should be utilizing our parking lot. It's not an easy thing to do with certain resources. And then our courtyard, which we can use all the time. And if you guys have looked at my feed, you'll see there's a lot of events that we use that courtyard for that draw traffic. William, you should go down to the strike and tell them that what you like about their craft. All the celebs easy successful just sitting on curves eating sandwiches. Hey, probably got security. I'd probably get staged. Yes, I did see a scene with that guy in it. That was weird. Gravik, that was weird. His character was a letdown. His character buildup was great. I was enjoying his character buildup. I love the interaction between him and Nick Fury. And then it just kind of just fell apart. Loki season 2 should be good because it's run by Benson and Moorhead now, who ran Moon Knight. Oh, Moon Knight's another one I enjoyed. And also great indie films like The Endless, Something in the Dirt. Okay, I know who they are. Yeah, I spent all Comic-Con with him. He's really cool, dude. Hey, listen, Troma is great. It's not just fun movies, it's great people. I love the people I spent those 4 days with. They made me feel very welcome. They, even though I was technically working the booth, they allowed me and encouraged me to go out and be a nerd for 4 days. I just had a lot of fun. They give off a really good energy. I loved working with Troma. Why are you shaking your head, Zeno? If you're gonna come in here and do that, at least give me the courtesy of let me know what specifically why you're shaking your head. I don't watch the MCU movies like the 4 years, but the movies got worse after Avengers 2. Yeah, and it's because they, like I said, they reached the zenith that it's like the top of the roller coaster. You're only going to get that high once. Yeah, he's very accessible. Hey, William, give me your thoughts on Netflix show The Dragon Prince. Heard it was good, then bad, then to just dumb down to sell plush toys. Give me your take. I honestly have not gotten to see that yet. I will get to it on my vacation, and I will remind me in a week. I've heard the same things you've heard, but I have not had a chance but that's a wide array. I mean, heard it was good, then bad, then just dumbed down to sell plush toys. That sounds like it might be right up my alley. All right. Even if he cares, he needed to, like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, they all needed to do a better job getting to where they needed to get to. Go watch Hearthstone, Gal Gadot makes for a great action star. The movie has 2 of the 3Ds. I'm assuming there's not going to be too much dismemberment, so I'm Death and Destruction, Zeno. I've been, and that's another one on my list. That's on Netflix right now, right? Cool. Let me hold on because I'll forget. I'm gonna put Dragon Prince. Hold on. I'm gonna do this while I'm talking to you guys. Otherwise, I'm a bonehead and I'll forget. I'm just got a lot on my mind right now. All right, so that's it right there. Let me mute. Okay, had to unmute. I didn't want to get any copyright. I put it in my little thingamajig there. I didn't want to get any copyright strikes. The last thing we need to get cooked up. So, all right. So, Remo, I got Dragon Prince, and Zeno, I got Heart of Stone. I'll probably give those a watch tomorrow, tonight. Two of the 3Ds. Don't start fourth. I know where your brain is going. Dude, I enjoyed it. Oh, by the way, fourth, you asked me the other night. It is Dracula himself in the movie is practical effects. There's a video online showing you how they did the practical effects for the movie. So kudos there for them there. I enjoyed it. Let me give you what I thought of it. Hold on. I did a review, and I'll go ahead and put my review in the chat so you guys can hold on. It's a really short spoiler-free review for Last Voyage of the Demeter. Here you go. That's what I thought of it. All right, so that's in the chat. Let's see. Let's see. Who did I skip? Everything but decapitation. Okay, so I figured dismemberment was so hey, some limbs get ripped off. I did not like it. With Natalie Portman, I did not like it. I thought it was a long road to nowhere. I hate to be the asshole. I have to agree with you there. But I say this, but if you guys want to go see this, I'm not telling you not to go see it. Don't listen to me. This is my personal preference. I had always planned to see it on streaming. They moved it to the theaters. My plans haven't changed. I am okay with that as long as I have my shared universe in the backdrop. I'm okay with the Batman. I'm okay with Sam. I'm okay with any of that stuff. I want either. I want both. I don't want either or though. If the right answer is both, in my opinion. Ha, that's by. I saw what you did there. Hilarious. Das Bat. Very funny. It's definitely disturbing. I will agree with you there. I saw Blue Beetle comics that appeared to tie in with the movie Target, but I was wondering why we haven't seen marketing. Because the original marketing budget was for something that was going to be on streaming. Two, it's just not a. I don't think they thought that Blue Beetle was a big enough character that the marketing budget was going to push them over the edge. And it's at this point they're already spending a lot of money on the other three films' marketing. That probably just left Blue Beetle, originally a streaming movie, out in the cold. Because they spent a lot on The Flash. They spent a lot on Shazam. You guys saw the stuff that I got for Shazam, plus the screenings themselves. And they're going to spend a lot on Aquaman. And then they also have other projects and stuff that will make money. So I just didn't think they thought that the profile of Blue Beetle justified, the kind of marketing campaign. One day I swear I'm going to try the boot. They have some. It just lost me. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, but it lost me. Who knows? I'm curious to see what these two post-credit scenes are. Okay, I'm still here. Okay, got you. Another lame-ass character. I cannot stand Booster Gold. I absolutely cannot stand. Every time Blue Beetle and Booster Gold would show up in Justice League, that's when I knew I had to stop collecting Justice League. Hated those two characters. You can't expect old 20 Gun not to tweet until Aquaman 2. No, he's not going to, but it doesn't matter what he says, though. Here's the thing, though. Like I said before, I wouldn't have even rushed this new DCU out yet until we got all the mileage, because you can't deny that they thought that there was money in these 4 movies. They thought enough of these movies to spend as much as advertising that they're going to put out and lose. They hyped the hell out of these movies. They gave one of them a Super Bowl day commercial. So they thought that there was value in these movies, but then they should have treated them that way. They should have approached these movies as, what can we do to make these 4 movies special unto themselves, into their universe that they exist in, and what can we do to transition from this to that, to give a credible transition, so that instead of sitting around wondering if Gal Gadot lied or if James Gunn lied or if Variety's full of shit, instead of wondering about dumb nonsense like that, we're getting hyped up for these movies that are coming out at the same time we're getting hyped out for the new universe that's starting. And the tagline should have been the end of one universe and the beginning of another. That's simple. I just gave you that for free. You guys spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a college education and marketing, training, and you couldn't figure that out? But oh well. I keep hitting the like button, but I never get to see William in a Wonder Woman costume. No. William, I'm going to email you the trailer to remind you. Oh, thank you. I'll see Blue Beetle after I purchase it. Yeah, there you go. That's where I'm at. Gaga is life. I saw some stills of it. I'm intrigued. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, we'll talk about the strike tomorrow. By the way, my weekly strike update. By the way, I hope I have some good stuff to report tomorrow, because this strike's starting to annoy me. Tony, I figured he'd make a low ball offer and then threaten to outsource and animate. Yeah. They're trying to break the unions, so. All right. What is the most disturbing movies I've ever seen? Um, Violent Night was pretty disturbing, and that's telling you something for a guy like me. Um, there's a movie called Society that a buddy of mine, Nick Benson, worked on, did the special effects for. That's disturbing, and when you Google it and see it, you'll see exactly why. My prediction is Gaga Harley Quinn will not be crazy or duped into loving the Joker. She will be the only person qualified to get in close to him with authority to earn his trust, some connection or bigger shoot. I think that's a wide shot there. Yeah, fourth probably went and saw Barbie willingly. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. Best thing. Yeah, I mean that's a very famous line. Believe it or not, that was my old name when I transitioned from what was called Asylum Comics, because I just started out solely as a comic book store. The name from '03 to '05, just before I deployed for Iraq, was called the Sci-Fi Empire. And then the word empire just didn't fit, and I just went with center because it was much more generic and it just fit better. Yep, looking in all these. No, I'll go broke doing Hot Toys, both selling them and purchasing them. Oops. Starting to get tired a little bit, so we're going to round this out, especially when we got a full day of streaming tomorrow. Brand and persona building is another use for Twitter. Becoming a presenter requires engagement with other users. It required high frequency and consistency. I know you've been trying to get me on the Twitter train for a while. It's just that if you know, and you've seen how I operate, you've actually been there, and you've seen how I operate on these platforms. I'm very cautious. It's different from, like I said, I want to engage. I am going to go full on into all this, but I am not your average YouTuber. There's other things at stake and on the line. I have to be cautious in how I present things. Like me getting into a Twitter war, it's just not going to happen. I'll have a back and forth with you on Twitter, but it's going to be very controlled and content wise. I'm not going to get into like I see some of these fools blocking each other and calling each other names. I mean, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to do that. And I wasn't quite sure that I could dive into all that and keep clean of all of it. But so far, so good. I see that I can. I just don't engage with. If I have a professional opinion I put out there, I generally, very rarely do I respond and go back and forth 10 or 20 times. It's not going to happen. And like I said, I've been using other apps so that when I load other apps, Twitter's automatically on there, especially if it's 4 pictures or less. So I'm getting there. All right. I like Moon Knight. Yeah, at Comic-Con, he actually showed us behind the scenes of making a Troma movie. Man, Lloyd was tough back in the day. I'll have to tell you later. I might watch it after this. Zeno says yes. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh yeah, that is him. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about here. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this. Heart of Stone is really good action from the beginning, pretty engaging. Anyways, okay. Bond. Some of the best parts of Bond films are the beginning. I thought about that. I'm just right now. It's just I'm sitting it out, but I could still, I could still do that. I just don't know if I want to drag myself to the theater to see it. Huge. What was the budget for that? Dude, I got all these Wikipedia windows open. Hold on. Hearthstone. Tom Harper. Doesn't tell me. Critics don't seem to like it, but that's a good sign. You know how I feel about some of them sometimes. Not all of them, but lately they've just been way off as far as my sensibilities goes. So, I'm not bringing up Barbie. Hold on, that's fourth. That's fourth. I didn't bring up Barbie at all, did I? I don't recall bringing up Barbie. I think that's fourth. That was fourth. I blame fourth. Yeah, that's it. But I still haven't seen Barbie yet. No, no. I just didn't feel like going to see it. All right, so let's get this established. Whether it's Barbie or anything else, I never ever watch pirated movies anymore. The only time I ever watched pirated movies was when I was 10,000 miles across the planet, and they there was no copyright over there, and they would just burn them and give them to us so that we had something to do. But if I'm here in America and there's a movie I want to see, I'm going to go see it. I am never going to watch. And most of the movies I watch are high end science fiction stuff anyway. I want to see them in that environment. I think you're an absolute just I don't know what's wrong with you. If you wanted to go see the Flash and you saw it via piracy, you robbed yourself. Watching Oppenheimer on a shitty copy, even in some of them maybe good renditions of it. But now you're saying, okay, we want these good movies to be made, but we're not willing to go see them. If it's a movie I want to see, if somebody's produced content that I like, I want to pay them. So, nah, piracy will never be a thing for me, man. And I know you meant that as a joke, but I just wanted to establish that. I think sharing news with a caption, sharing your thoughts is great. I don't tolerate nonsense on my family. Yeah, and you've seen, oh my goodness. Well, you got to rip the band-aid off and just plunge your way in. Write those algorithms. Get yourself a sexy co-host and another who's a verbal punching bag. Okay, that sounds like the recipe for disaster. Twitter is good for reading it once a month and keeping in touch with comic creators, but arguing is unturned. Yeah, that's just I can't do it. And I'm online a lot, but I'm just not online like that. And I'm online. I use this as a tool. Yeah, I saw it. One of Daniel Day Lewis's best films. All right, guys, I'm going to start speeding through some of these because we're reaching that hour and 40-minute mark. All right, that's going to wrap it up right there. I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you guys got any comments beyond that, just put them in the comment section of either stream. I'll get to them. Otherwise, I'm going to see you guys in about 18 hours or so. And we got a good overnighter. Our comic book turning point story for this week is Daredevil's Born Again. It's one of the ones I had on my list when I decided I was going to do these again and get into and dive into comic book stories. So this week's story is Frank Miller's Daredevil Born Again. So we're going to be going over that, going over its cultural impact, going over what it meant for Daredevil the years down the line, going over the quality of the story. We're going to go through it, not page by page, but there are some visuals in there that I do want to share with you guys. So we'll be looking at those. Right now, tomorrow, it's wide open as far as what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to do my best, unless you guys make a great case that something needs to be answered. I'm going to try to limit the DC talk to just a little bit, because right now there's just nothing to add to the conversation right now. That could change in 24 hours. We will talk about the strike because hopefully we will have something to add to that. We'll talk about some upcoming horror movies we got going out that got coming on. We'll talk about some of the ones I'll be promoting. The Exorcist one we'll be promoting and giving away stuff. We'll talk about I'll go into depth with Last Voyage of the Demeter because I thought it was, a good movie, and it deserves a little bit more than the 2 minutes I have there. So we're going to go into that. And whatever I can think of that comes up through the day, sometimes we have a story that lands on a Saturday that just surprises the hell out of us. But right now, that's what we're going to be talking about. There's one thing I am going to be adding to the show, along with my little comic book thing that we've done for a few weeks now. We're going to pick album covers, and I'm gonna pick an album cover. And we're going to go over, we're going to start with the album cover. But obviously, when we talk about music, it goes much deeper than that. But I'm going to pick an album cover, and we're going to dive into that. And then we're going to that'll be a regular feature. Other than that, some other surprises for you tomorrow. We'll see how the show goes. It's our overnighter. Once again, like and subscribe this stream. Share the stream. If you have people you think might want to be part of our conversation, bring them into the conversation. As you can see, this platform is all accessible. I may have skipped over some questions tonight because I was running over, but at the same time, everybody that came into our conversation I got at least one of your questions or comments in, most of the time, multiple times. So if you want to bring somebody in that you think would fit in this environment, bring them in. That's how we grow. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and eat my food, take some allergy meds, and crash until tomorrow morning, which I hope is going to be less than 100 degrees. So you guys have a good night. Have a good start to your weekend. Play safe. Don't hurt each other. Don't hurt yourself. If you're thinking about hurting yourself, 988. Other than that, good stream to guys. Thanks for being the most important part of my YouTube experience, which is the other side of the conversation. See you later.